Hi, Ken Medema here. First of all, I want to wish you a happy new year. I hope 2021 is a year full of surprises, changes, turnings, blessings, all that. Also want to introduce the concert that we're doing tonight. If you were with us the last couple of weeks, I mentioned that we would be rebroadcasting one of our earlier shows. And we've chosen the concert that we called Healing of the Heart. This was broadcast back in October, and my special guest, if you'll remember, was Walt Wangerin, who is a wonderful poet and writer and teacher and lover of humankind. And he talked about his own experiences of healing. So we're going to replay Healing of the Heart for you tonight. And starting next week, then, we're going to do at least one and maybe several shows on the notion of turning points. Because we all have those turning points in our lives, those moments when things changed, things got rewritten, things got opened, some endings got ended and some beginnings got begun. And so I want to do some shows on turning points. But for now, let's watch and listen to Healing of the Heart. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on us. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on us. See us reach us, free us, teach us. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on us. us
Hi. Healing of the heart is today's theme, and I'm honored beyond words. In a little while, you're going to meet my first very, very special guest. But first, a couple of things. Years ago, I was privileged to write a musical with two friends, one of whom you saw on our show a couple of weeks ago, Ted Schwartz. The musical was about the life of Jacob and his brother Esau, and the last scene where Jacob and Esau confront each other on the stream of the Jabbok, they have this conversation about forgiveness and about whether Jacob can come home again and whether Esau is going to accept his brother. And after that conversation, we have a song in the show called Healing of the Heart. And I don't know how many of you are in that place, but I suspect a lot of us are in a place just like this.
Pathways are chosen, years go by, feelings get frozen, tear ducts run dry. It's time to move on now, so I'll try to forget all the ways that you hurt me, all the rage and regret. Where do we begin? Tell me how do we even start to walk across that long bridge on the road to forgiveness and the healing of the heart. There's a room that's been damaged in the house of my soul, and I try not to go there where it's lonely and cold. I blacken the windows, I pretend I don't care. I seal all the doorways, I pretend it's not there. Tell me, where do we begin? Oh, tell me how do we even start to walk across that long bridge on the road to forgiveness and the healing of the heart. How did we get here? Standing fragile, so frail. Oh God, are you with us? And what if we fail? Where? Tell me, where do we begin? Oh, somebody tell me how. Do we even start to walk across that long, long bridge on the road to forgiveness? Long, long road to forgiveness. All that way down to forgiveness. And the healing of the heart.
Todd Balsinger wrote a book about leadership in the pandemic time. And he was interviewing pastors, and one of them said, I think I can adapt to paradigm change, but I don't know that I can survive it. It's not a matter of loss of nerve. It's a matter of loss of heart. This next song asks the question, who's going to be there? And my guest today knows a lot about who's going to be there when everything is broken and falling apart and coming down around your ears. And I think we don't get healed all by ourselves. We get healed when the right somebody is there. So try this.
That cold Monday morning when you don't think you have the nerve to make it out the door. Who's gonna be there on that lonely Thursday when you don't think you have the guts to try it anymore? Who's gonna be there when your sense of entitlement makes you think that you deserve all the privileges you get? Gonna be there when the rain starts pouring and your intuition tells me that you ain't seen nothing yet. What? Don't go it alone. You're walking off the cliff if you're walking by yourself. Don't go it alone. You need the wisdom and the honesty of somebody else. Tell someone your secrets. Don't let them fester, they will just do you harm. Put out the fire before we need to sound an alarm. You got to have someone to help you to get those demons disarmed. Who's gonna be there when you're sitting in your office and you fantasize liaison with someone you've just seen? Who's gonna be there when you try to stand up for the right and everybody tells you you're just a drama queen? Who's gonna be there when you try to do the right and you cannot figure out how to make it come out right? Who's gonna be there when that somebody else. Tell someone your secrets. Don't let them fester, they will just do you harm. Put out the fire before we have to sound an alarm. You need some help to get them demons disarmed. Oh, half-truths and silence are around you everywhere. Keep your position. Tell them what they need to hear. If they really knew you, then you just might be undone. It's so much harder when you can't talk to anyone. Don't go it alone. You're walking off the cliff if you're walking by yourself. Don't go it alone. You need the wisdom and the honesty of somebody else. Tell someone your secrets. Don't let them fester, they will just do you harm. Put out the fire before we have to sound an alarm. You need some help to get those demons, some help to get those demons, some help to get those demons disarmed.
My guest. I could tell you, I could talk for a day about the more than 30 books he has written, the book he is writing now about preaching story, 2 books that I remember so well, the Bible as a novel and the Book of God. He is a prolific writer. He has been a Lutheran pastor. He has been a college professor, a sought-after speaker here and there and everywhere. But what's important right now is that here is somebody who knows what it is to have your heart broken and have it healed. He has dealt with life-threatening cancer and has come back from that. He is still writing, still working, still teaching students. And he's not doing many public engagements, but because he's my friend, he was willing to come on. Would you meet and say hello to Dr. Walter Wangerin, my friend? Howdy, Walt.
I'm fine. How are you, Ken? Well, you don't have to answer that. I just heard on your piano how you are.
Yeah, I'm good. I have such fond memories of the many, many times that I had the privilege of singing after your speaking. One time I remember, you mentioned this too. We were at a conference in Chicago and you were telling a story about your little church in Evansville, Indiana. And so I, trying to play the sort of gospel pianist, in the middle of your talk started... he'll groove out. He'll get inspired. This is just like home. Not quite. You were a bit unsettled about that, and I'm sorry.
Had no idea who you were or why this idiot was breaking in on my story.
But there have been lots of stories, and I particularly want tonight for our friends, many of whom, as you pointed out when we talked on the phone, many of whom are dealing with unusual amounts of pressure during this time. And I simply want them to hear from this once broken and now healing heart, if you wouldn't mind just talking to us a bit. Would you?
Thank you, Ken. I think it's beginning to be very important for you to know that I am what we call a recovering alcoholic. I have not had a drink since 14 years ago, and that's good. And by the grace of God, I will not have a drink until I die. But there's a story behind all this. I don't know that it's possible to calculate all the things that contribute to a person's becoming an alcoholic. For myself, there are several strands that I know of. One, I was abused as a child, and thereafter I have been, or at least until recently, a melancholic person. More recently, that is to say, I can't tell you how many years ago, but there are many, my beautiful brother, Mike, committed suicide. That had an effect on me. I'd already been drinking. In fact, whenever I traveled, I remember specifically traveling south to Indianapolis, I knew where every liquor store was on the way, so that I need never be out of whatever it is I needed to drink before I gave my talk or my sermon. I was nevertheless able to give the talk or to preach the sermon, and that I think meant that I never was particularly aware of the effect of this drinking. I had begun drinking scotch a while ago. I liked the taste of it, and then I liked the effect of it. Time went on, and I changed to vodka because I was sure that you could not smell that on my breath. Not true. But I always kept with me a cough drop, Hall's Mentholyptus cough drop, so that when I had car accidents, and I did, I would pop one of those in my mouth, and I would be sure that the cop couldn't smell my breath. And in fact, it worked. I've been very fortunate that way. I never have had, no, put it this way, I've never hurt anyone in an accident. I've been going to Alcoholics Anonymous now for 14 years. And I've heard all kinds of stories of people who were not as fortunate as I was. They have hurt people. They've been into terrible car accidents. One of my best friends, I have made such good friends at AA. One of my best friends murdered a fellow under the influence. He was charged with murder. He did not choose to plead not guilty. And he spent, 16 years in an Oregon prison. Now, he's been out for a long time. But this is what happens. And I was fortunate I never did this. I've also had friends who have died of their drink. And again, I've been fortunate. But the people around me have not been so fortunate, particularly my wife. She knew I was an alcoholic long before I was able to admit it. And she gave me signs. I remember that I hid my wine bottles in places that would never be found. And then one day, there was one of my wine bottles sitting on the dining room table. She knew. I tried to tell her that I could handle this drink. one of the days that I was in the midst of it, I put up a calendar and I told her I'm going to mark every day that I don't drink. And I started putting X's on those days. And I don't know, maybe it was the middle of the second week. I put an X on, but that was a lie. I was drinking another X, another X. And she knew that those X's were nothing more than pretense on my part. I guess you can say this is the ruination of my heart. But I would say more than that, it was the wounding of my wife's heart. Oh, things happened. I've had a small farm and drove a tractor. This is one example. And on muddy ground, I tipped the tractor over and it landed on me and I was not hurt, but I was drunk. I giggled and I laughed and I called out, "Help, help." In fact, it was a neighbor who came and helped me. The neighbor girls heard and they said, "We can help you." They got their dad. Things got worse. It got very bad when I had cancer, when that was diagnosed. Very bad because the medication that I was taking mixed with the alcohol, and I could never not keep my wits about me. One afternoon, I remember when I was visiting, he was visiting with me, Dr. Fred Niedner, who's been a friend for a long time. He knew better than I did that I was slurring my words, that I was making absolutely no sense. I was angry. After we got married, Than realized that I was always underneath, hidden, an angry person. Drink. Then came the day when I had to change. I have a woodworking shop, and I was working in the shop, and I had a beer beside me, and my wife walked in, and she just turned and walked out again. I killed her soul. And I remember I rushed after her, and there was no response in her, no emotion, nothing. And I thought to myself, this has got to stop. That was a Sunday. On Monday, I called my friend Fred, who himself was a recovering alcoholic, and I said, I've got to go, I've got to do something. And he took me to AA. And there it took me a while, actually, to get into what they call the program. But I did. And I continued. I continued until ultimately I had stopped drinking. In fact, I had stopped drinking on the day I went. It was March 13th. Until now and forever. And that was when my heart and my wife's heart began to heal. She couldn't trust me for a long, long time. And so I had to be trustworthy until she accepted it and believed. Times got better, slowly, very slowly, but they did. And Than trusted me. And we've done well. I can tell you now that our marriage, at least from my perspective, has never been as good as it is now. In these last years, we have known a peace, many, many ways in which you can maintain that peace. Don't need to go into them all. But I have never been so happy. A quiet happy, no great cheer, tranquility, peace.
It's a long, long road out of the night. It's a long, long road till this morning light. And all the shadows that lie in wait simply to trap me. And it felt like it was just too late. It's a long, long tunnel from that place underground where you can't see the sunlight, and you are forever bound. And you don't have the courage, and you don't have the will to begin to make that change from the place where all is dark and still. You can blame your childhood, you can blame circumstance. Oh, there's this and that cause that never gave me the learning to dance. When it comes right down to it, there is no other way than to take one tiny step, and then one more, and then one more today. Thank God you made the trip out into this meadow where the flowers grow and all the trees are green. And we'll be waiting for that book to be in our hands. Welcome, my friend, to a brand new promised land.
Thank you, my friend.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
for
my friend.
openness and honesty. I know there are people, me being one, who needed to hear just exactly what we heard tonight. So I hope your rest of the night will be full of rest and good cheer, and I thank you once more. Any last words you want to say to us?
No, except I've told the story before, and so I'm not uncomfortable with it anymore. Nor do I hold any shame nor blame for myself. There is a divinity who always watches over us. We are the sparrows in the hands of God.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you very, very much for us to be able to tell our own stories without blame, without shame, without embarrassment. What a great gift. Thanks.
Welcome.
look at the flowers growing in the field. They do not toil and they do not spin at all. And yet I say to you that Solomon in all his glory was not dressed like one of these. Take a look at the flowers growing in the field. They do not toil and they do not spin at all. And yet I say to you that Solomon in all his glory was not dressed like one of these. And if God will take such care of the grass of the field, which today grows and tomorrow is burned in the fire, will she not take care of you? Has it not occurred to you? Oh, you of little faith. Take a look at the flowers growing in the field. They do not toil and they do not spin at all. And yet I say to you that Solomon in all his glory was not dressed like one of these.
Several weeks ago, I asked people to write stories for us about their own healing of the heart experiences. And this wonderful story came in, and when we read it, we were just mesmerized. Beverly said, she's got to be on the program. So we called up Marcia Christian, who has been a regular watcher. She's a church musician and piano teacher. She is a mother. She's married. I'll let her tell you a bit about her life. Marcia Christian, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Ken. I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me on the program tonight. And I've just been enjoying the music and the story from Walt already. And it's a wonderful theme and a wonderful, wonderful day to celebrate.
So tell us a bit about you, about who you are, and what makes your life tick.
Well, I think you got it mostly right. I have been married and have 3 grown children, all out of the nest, and a few grandchildren to boot. I teach.
Do you boot your grandchildren? Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes, but we won't tell their parents that.
I see.
So I do teach piano, and I play for 2 different churches, and I've done that. It's been the most part of my life. Different churches, different times along the way, but I do enjoy the music, and I enjoy working with the children. That's my love.
I want you to tell your story about that heart change, because it's just such a common, simple, everyday story. And yet, if one is awake to the common, simple, everyday stuff, it can be life-changing. So tell us.
Okay, well, it's not one of my finest moments, but it's definitely one of God's finest moments. I'm sure all of us during this pandemic time have had our ups and downs through it. And a couple of weeks ago, I had one of the worst downs that I've experienced through this time. And I just got terribly, terribly angry, which is not really like me. I'm a pretty easygoing, happy person most of the time, but I was in this pit, this horrible, horrible, angry, dark place, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I wasn't even sure I wanted to get out of it, but I knew I needed to get out of it. But I seemed to be helpless. So I got up that day and I just couldn't shake this awful dark place, but I had to go to the store. And it's only about 10 minutes away, so I got in the car, grabbed my mask, grabbed my stuff, and angrily drove to the store. I was just fuming for who knows why. And I got there, and I knew it was going to mean I'd have to put a mask on, I'd have to distance myself from people, which I'm a real people person, so that part I really have been having a hard time with. Got out of the car, started stomping my way over to the grocery store, and I was stopped dead in my tracks by music. And it was interesting music. It was a drawing kind of music. It was beautiful. I can't really explain it to you. It was almost angelic, really, as I look back. And I began to look around, where is this coming from? Who's playing music in their car, or what is going on? And looking back, even at that point, I know my heart was starting to change and get soft, but I kept walking toward where I was hearing it from, and it was about 3 stores down the pathway there, across the whole parking lot. And I kept following. It was drawing me. And as I got closer, I realized I was seeing a figure sitting, playing an accordion. Now, when I tell you it was beautiful music, it was. It was not your German polka, papa, papa, by any means. It was beautiful. I realized it was a young mom, and her 2 little boys were playing on the bench behind her. And she had the accordion playing in her lap, and she had a big, I don't know what you call it, big boombox thing next to her that was playing like the backing track stuff. And it was just simply gorgeous music. And it just, I stopped and I watched and I listened and I wept. I just wept. And my heart began to crack and soften. And I put my hands up or this, like this, and I smiled as best I could at this woman to let her know her music was really touching my heart. And then I realized next to her was a sign. And the sign said, "Lost my job, lost my home. Anything you can give will help. God bless you." And boy, did that hit me again right here. And I saw she had 2 little boys playing on the bench behind her. And as I began to try to converse with her, it was a little rough because her language was, there was an accent that I didn't recognize. Turns out she's Romanian, and the 2 boys, the older one, they were 8 and 7. See, I got to know them real well because I stayed and talked for a while. The 8-year-old was the one with the most personality and kind of acted as the go-between and facilitated our conversation. So again, all I could do was try to tell her that her music was changing my heart right at that moment. I dropped some little pittance of money in her thing, and I walked away to go to the store. And as I walked away, I just bawled like a baby. Everything came out, and the anger left, and the frustration left, and the perspective of her life and mine. Who was I to be so angry? So I went in the store, try to make this not too long. I went in the store, got my groceries, and I heard God kind of say, why don't you get something for those kids for lunch? And the mom too, while you're at it. Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay, sure. So I found some things and went through the check stand and went back outside and headed down toward where she had been, but she wasn't there anymore. They were gone. And I was heartbroken all over again and so sad. So I drove home. My husband got home. I told him all about it. He said, "That's okay. Just go back tomorrow." And I'm thinking to myself, what's the odds she's going to be back there tomorrow? But I did what he said. I got up the next morning and got the lunch back out of the refrigerator and put it in the car and drove down there. And guess what? They were all there. So the middle boy, his name is Ricardo, and I handed him this bag of lunch, and I tried to explain to him and his mom why I hadn't been able to get it there yesterday, because you guys left and I didn't know where you were. And we had another nice conversation. She played some more music and blessed me again. And then I had errands to run. I needed to go to the dollar store to get some little gifty things for some of my piano students. While I was driving to the dollar store, again, the Lord spoke and said, "You need to get some things in there for the kids to keep them busy while Mama's playing. These are two little boys with tons of energy and they're going to be bored silly, so find something for them. And while you're at it, find something nice for Mom, because she probably deserves a treat. And you could wrap it all up in a box or a gift bag and get a card, because I want you to stop at the bank and I want you to be generous." That's exactly what I heard. So I went to the dollar store and found the little cars for the boys and some nice smelling hand cream for Mom. And then there was this little, you can find anything at the dollar store. Well, they had these rocks that just fit in the palm of your hand. Maybe some of you have seen these, and they have a word on them: faith, hope, love, strength, courage. Of course, I got one of each and stuck those down in the bag too. I thought, well, maybe this will just encourage her. Okay, left the store, stopped by the bank, got the card, put it all together, put it all in, and drove back, and they were still there. So as I pulled up, the boys recognized me right away and came running over, which of course that thrilled my heart too. And I nodded to Mom, who was still playing her beautiful, beautiful music. So I gave the gift bag of these little things to the boys, and I said, "But this card needs to go to Mama." And so Ricardo immediately took it over and gave it to her, and she stopped playing, and I saw that she, tucked it away somewhere safe. And that's really all I saw. But my heart through all of that was completely the one, not 360, that'd be the wrong, 180, right? Did a complete 180. The Lord filled me with so much love and so much joy, and the knowledge of why I'd gotten myself in that dark pit, because I was focused on what I had lost or what's been taken away from me. I can't go to church. I can't sing in church. I can't play my music in church. I have to wear this mask. I can't see people's faces. Children can't see people's faces, on and on and on. But this situation with this woman and her music made me realize what I have and to focus on how blessed I am, and that I was able to share with her and had the opportunity. The verse in the card, Zephaniah, real quick last thing, Zephaniah 3:17, "The Lord your God is with you. His power gives you victory. The Lord will take delight in you, and in his love, he will give you new life." And I'm going to add, and a new heart. Thanks be to God.
I think there is an angel playing in the parking lot today. I hear the music and I'm drawn here while I watch the children play. There is an angel playing. I can hear
parking lot today. For I hear an angel playing while I watch the children play. While I watch the children play. I want to thank you, Marcia, for your story, for writing it, and for being willing to come on the show and tell it. It's so much fun for me to get to hear these beautiful, beautiful stories from friends. Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you, Ken. And I don't know how you knew, but that is my favorite Beethoven. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Friends, I want to mention to you one thing. As you know, I keep saying this every week. We depend on your gifts to Interlude Retreats. Interlude Retreats is a nonprofit. We sponsor retreats for church musicians. Marcia, we're going to have you at one of our retreats soon. Retreats for church musicians in their mid-career. We sponsor songwriting conferences. We sponsor work in small churches, which we've not been able to do during the pandemic time. And Interlude is sponsoring, since we're not traveling, we're not on the road, Interlude is sponsoring these concerts. And we have a $10,000 matching gift from an anonymous donor. And we're about $1,000 toward reaching that 10 before the end of the year. And it will extend a little ways into next year. But if you like this work and want to see it continue, we would be delighted to receive your donation. But most of all, we want your energy and your prayers. interluderetreats.org, that's the website. Next week, the theme is, will you be there? And what I want from you, my friends, is stories about people who showed up for you in difficult times. I'll tell you a story about my move to New Jersey from Michigan and the people who showed up for us and helped us move, and what a great gift that was. It's people who showed up for you in a time of difficulty. If you'll write that story, who knows? We may tell it on the show. So next week, will you be there? And I'm going to end like this. This is called Come Down to the Park. 3 o'clock on Wednesday, his daughter comes upstairs. Turn off your computer, Dad, and let's go down to the park by the wishing well. Oh yeah. He was sick and tired of writing, and the words were dry and brittle. And he wished for all the world he could be standing in the shoes of someone else. A block away they heard it, some tiny little voices, all liquid and alive like flowers bursting with the joy of summer rain. He knew he would look stupid, but she would not be dissuaded. So clumsily at first, they skipped the distance. He was 10 years old again. Come down to the park, just around the block. There's no school today. We won't mind the clock. Can play all day. Stay until it's dark. Grab a bag of chips and put some old clothes on and come down to the park. 5 o'clock on Friday at the airline's ticket counter. It's another trip across the country. That's the way he gets to pay his bills. Somebody says travel isn't what it used to be. But they look around, they realize they're standing there, and they guess they always will. And deep inside he's thinking, wonder what they're thinking while we stand here, all sleepy-eyed and blurry, watching luggage being scanned by the TSA. And he wonders if they're thinking maybe we should leave here, simply get out of this line, find a cab and find a park today. Go down to the park, just around the block. There's no school today. We won't mind the clock. Yeah, we can play all day. Stay until it's dark. Grab a bag of chips and put some old clothes on. Grab a bag of chips and put some old clothes on. Grab a bag of chips and put some old clothes on and come down to the park. Oh, the song is alive everywhere. The song is alive everywhere. And you are the ones who get to give the pitch. 'Cause the song is alive everywhere. Good night.